I don't know if you've heard of J.P. McMahon.
No, I'm not
He's
much of a cook. My husband is, but
well, he's got a restaurant in Ireland, in Galway. And it's called Anir, and it's like a Michelin star restaurant. And
right, that's on the Irish. What is it called? The Irish.
It's called the Irish Cookbook, and there's a ton of hi Sheila, and it's J.P. McMahon is his name.
Nice.
Yeah,
I've eaten at
Sheila here
in Galway, but I haven't eaten there. So
where? Sorry,
I've eaten at a lot of places in Galway. It's been a summer in Connemara.
You already. This isn't going to give us a camera, though. Let's see. Oh,
you must be on your phone. It's always so hard to find stuff on your phone. Are you on your phone, Sheila?
Oh, I've got it.
Okay.
No, I'm just setting up my little. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. And my friend Erin. Oh, she just walked away. She'll be right here.
Hi, Erin. Hello. Hello.
We also have a bigger screen on our counter since it's the two of us, so you might not be able to see us.
Fun. Hi, how are you, Erin? Hi, Leanne.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
I'm well.
Pretty good.
Kate and Leanne and Erin and Sheila, another Sheila. And I think there's a couple more coming. It's pretty small today, so that'll be fun. That'll be easy. We'll make it easy. I kind of like them when they're small, even though they're online, because you can keep as long as you don't have dogs barking and stuff in the background or whatever, keep yourself unmuted if you want. But if there's a lot of background noise, I'll ask you to turn it off. But we'll just wait a few more. Oh, it's not quite 10:30 yet. So, did anybody find some seaweed? I know Kate found some stuff.
I don't know if it's the proper thing. It looks like it just says premium roasted seaweed. I haven't. Maybe should I open it up and see what?
Open it up. I bet it'll be sort of like nori, maybe, or I'm certainly not a seafood expert or anything like that.
I have been to the Seaweed museum in Connemara, though.
Oh, fun, neat. Well, I'll show everybody, but I'm kind of how does it look?
Is it kind of like papery kind of stuff?
Yeah, that looks, well, that's kind of probably something we'd find here. That's more like nori, I think. Does it say what kind it is? Nori, Nori? That's more of a that's what is used for
Korean sea salt premium roasted seaweed.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything other than that about type or style or wait, let's see. Umami adventure, umami. I should have asked my daughter-in-law. She's Korean. So.
Do you have a little food processor, a way to kind of grind that up a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. That's if you want to use it today, that's probably what you'd want to do. Just take a few pieces. It really doesn't take a lot. But you might want to just whiz that through a food processor real quick, or a little mini food processor or a spice grinder or something like that. Because a little bit does go a long way. Are you going to cook along, Leanne? Okay, fun. We'll just wait a couple more minutes. I'm assuming other people are coming. I think there was 5 maybe that registered, but we can get started in a minute. So I am recording this just so you all know, because there are some people that might miss it that said they might not be here. So I just wanted to be able to send it to them afterwards if they wanted to see it. All right, well, let's see. I think we can get going. 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in. Does anybody need time to gather their ingredients or anything, or have any questions about anything before we start? Can't hear you. Sorry. You can stay on if you want.
Okay, absolutely nothing to do with it. So We're well prepared.
Very well prepared.
I do have to brag a little bit because I harvested my own honey.
Ooh,
This is it's
beautiful.
Rhode Island honey.
So when you were there, you went to a beekeeper or
My friend has 60,000 bees.
Wow.
So
How do you count? How do you count all those bees?
How do you, I was
I
just
have
going to
no
ask that too.
idea.
How do you
I was
count
like,
that?
are you sure it's not 55,000? They have a pretty massive, they have 6 hives, I think, or yeah, 6 hives, and I think 10,000 in each hive.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I really should go to, what do they call a bee farm? What do they call
Apiary?
aviary? Just because I have or apiary, right?
Yeah, I think it's apiary.
I think
because aviary is birds.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's fascinating.
Yes.
I don't know anything about it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's a real science. And if
Oh my gosh, yeah.
all about the queen. And they
Yeah.
grow their own queen. The bees grow their own queen. Like they
Okay.
decide this one out of the 20,000 or 10,000 in this hive, she's the one, and we're gonna feed her and grow her into a queen.
Wow.
It's fascinating. Anyway, I harvested my own honey, so
very exciting. I think that using a local honey or something that is not mass produced really does make a big difference. And I'm guilty of just buying it at Costco or something.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stop doing that because if you get a big jar, it just starts to crystallize, which is fine. You can just microwave it a little bit, which I did today. But it just, I don't know, it just doesn't taste as good as the local stuff. Like I love bear honey. That's a good, really good one. Local one.
Well, and what I also learned is that by season the flavor changes because it depends what the bees are eating.
Right.
So it was really cool.
Oh, that's fun. Well, okay, let's get started. So if other people can join in, great. Otherwise, I'll send them the recording. But thanks for coming. My name's Sheila Mullen. And Kate, you've been in a class before with Celtic Junction. And Leanne, were you at the cold canning class a few months ago?
Nope, this is my first one.
Okay, fun. And Erin and Sheila are new too. So I've just started doing classes with Celtic Junction just in the spring, just as a way to sort of, they didn't have any offerings like that. And I thought, well, I'm trying to become the Irish chef of Minnesota. And so I thought, and because nobody's claimed it, so I decided I'm going to claim that one. And that's me. So because I'm fairly obsessed with Ireland, I've been, like 8 times and I can't stop. And I've been there twice already this year. Luckily, I've just been so fortunate to be able to go. And the food, and so my obsession with it is because I went to culinary school in Dublin in 2020 and I had to be evacuated basically due to COVID. And but I was at the Dublin Cookery School and it was a 12-week program. I got 10 of the 12 weeks out of it. But just being there and, so people would say before I'd leave, you're going to go learn how to cook Irish food? I say, absolutely not. You don't know the amazing, the seed, the beef, the dairy, the lamb, everything, the bakery, everything is when you go to the right places is beyond amazing. I mean, some of the best meals I've ever had have been in Ireland, and wine, and not Irish wine, but they just get wonderful, wines from all over the world. And it was always such a great experience. And so my goal is to sort of demystify the boiled dinner myth of Ireland, which definitely happened and probably still happens and, is common. But if you go to restaurants and anywhere near the coast, I mean, the food is just amazing. The seafood is spectacular. So I just like to share this kind of stuff. And so the recipes today that I pulled from is from this book. This J.P. McMahon, he runs a restaurant in Galway called Anir, and he's a Michelin star, like 1 or 2 stars he's got. So I've never been, but I don't even know if you can get in. But he's really well known in Ireland for just being an amazing chef. And so I bought that book right before I came home in 2020, which was fun. But so we're going to make some oat biscuits and then some seaweed butter. And the biscuits, so they call cookies basically biscuits. And so this is more like a cracker or a cookie. So if you're thinking we're going to make sort of a scone kind of biscuit, well, no, then you have to go make a scone because that's different than what we call biscuits. So, but these are really fun and they're easy. And honest to God, I swear, you're just never going to want to buy crackers again once you make this, because you can do so many things with this recipe. You can, I'll add a little seaweed to mine. You don't have to. You can just do plain oats, but and the wholemeal flour. Did anybody get wholemeal flour? Were you able to find it?
I just made your recipe.
Oh, good. Yeah, you can make it, or Irish on Grand has it. I make my own usually too, but I did run into Irish on Grand this week. It's a light, it's a really good way to get extra sort of fiber into your flour because it's lighter than whole wheat. Even though it's made with whole wheat, I think that bran really lightens it. So I love it. I put in a lot of stuff. And hopefully you got a little Kerrygold butter because it's the best. Let's see what else I was going to say about the biscuits. You could add any kind of herbs on top and kind of roll them on top when we're rolling out the dough if you wanted. You could add some salt. Like I have got this, of course, you could just use some nice coarse salt, but this is from Echo Island. I've got seaweed in it. So you could do that and kind of roll it on the top. And you get that little crunchy bits of salt on the top, which is so good. But it's really pretty simple to put together. So when I'm baking, I always, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kind of pull this down like this and push this back so you guys can see. Can you see okay? Is that all right? Tell me if you need me to move around or anything. But I use a scale all the time when I'm baking. I just find it's a lot more accurate. So when I'm making recipes now, which I sort of I do for a living now also, is I try to have both the cups and the weight. You're just going to get a much better accurate reading. And these scales they're like $15 on Amazon. And I use this, it's rarely in the drawer. I use it all the time. And you can do ounces, grams, whatever, measurement you want. You can do liquids, that kind of thing too. So I'm just going to put it on ounces and I'm just going to weigh. And so you put your bowl on your scale and then you hit the tare button, T-A-R-E, and it zeroes out. So then you can add, and then you zero it out again and you can add more ingredients. So it's nice because it also sort of saves you from having to use a bunch of measuring cups and stuff. So, oops. And then you can spill all over. So I'm going to put about 6 ounces in my bowl, or it's a cup and a quarter or so of the wholemeal flour. This, you always see them on the British baking shows with these jugs and stuff, and you think, are they even measuring? But they're weighing everything because that's what they do all over Europe. And we're like the only ones that use the Dewey Decimal System still. And then for the butter, we're just going to cut the butter into small chunks. And I don't know if you've done that already. That's fine if you have. But it's basically like making a pie dough, really. So what I do is I just sort of divide it in half visually with my knife. And then, so that's going to be, because this is 8 ounces, so 2, 4, 6, 8. And then I'll take my 6 ounces. JP uses a little more butter in his recipe, but I thought it was just a little excessive. So, but we'll save this bit of butter for our seaweed butter. So it just makes a small amount, which I think is kind of perfect when you get to the seaweed butter. So I just I try not to be too particular. And I was also going to say, please ask any questions. Stop me at any time if you have questions about anything. I'm here. But
in chunks like this.
Yeah, about half inch or so, because we're going to get our hands in there and
it's cold.
Yep, and you want to keep it nice and cold, just like if you're making a cake or a pie. And at this time of year, I mean, my house is so cold. Room temperature is relative, you know. I mean, this is a whole different story in the summertime if you're making some of this stuff like the seaweed butter. So I took my butter out quite a bit ago, and it's kind of near my stove because it's we haven't turned our heat on yet. It was really chilly in here.
It's cold last night.
So just kind of sprinkle it in over your flour. Oops, you know what I forgot to do? And this happens. We're going to add in, if you haven't done that already, add in our 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I usually like to do this beforehand, but I was talking too much. Baking powder, and then our salt too. I'm going to add in some of this. Actually, I think I might save that for the top. I'm going to add just some regular kosher salt. So about a teaspoon of kosher salt.
No.
Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. You don't have to be exact. It's a very forgiving recipe. And any kind of a bread, biscuit, or anything you find in Ireland that's made from scratch, they are always getting their hands in there. I mean, rarely would any gram make a biscuit or anything with a food processor or a mixer. We have all the important things in. And at this point, if you want to add a little seaweed, I'm going to put a little.
Did you put,
So
sorry,
this is,
Sheila.
yeah.
Sheila, did you put the oats in already?
Oh, thank you. Oh, and that was one thing that Kate picked up that I missed on the recipe. Thank you, Kate. I forgot to say when to add the oats. So yes, you can add your oats. And pinhead oats are basically steel cut oats. So we'll just need, they just call them pinhead. I'm not sure if we want about 2 ounces or it's about a 1/4 cup. And this kind of helps with the, this helps a little bit with getting the butter kind of incorporated. I love these kinds of oats. They're so tasty. Fairly
Sheila,
unprocessed.
Sheila, I know we're not supposed to be precise, but the recipe says 1/3 cup and you just said 1/4. Does it matter?
Oh, no, 1/3 cup. You're right.
Okay.
I don't have it memorized.
What? Okay.
So
So,
our hands.
once you have all the ingredients in, which let me just double check here because I keep not the buttermilk yet. We don't want the buttermilk or the honey yet. We're going to hold on those 2 things. So this is what, if you're going to make I usually like to kind of separate out those little chunks that I just cut up and get them kind of coated. And this sort of helps because we're going to do what's called feathering. So you're going to take a little bit of the butter with some of the flour mixture and just sort of pinch it in your fingers. And this is called feathering. So you're just kind of mashing it in. And we're making you can do this with a pie dough. This is, if you don't have a food processor, you could use a big fork too, which, I mean, if you want to go that route, or a pastry cutter, or if you have a food processor, you can do that. But this is way more fun, I think. And we're just going to kind of mash every little piece of butter into the flour. Just like if you were making a pie dough. And this will give kind of a little bit of lift and just some really nice flavor into our biscuits.
Boy, that butter is really hard if it comes right up.
When it's cold, I know. Yeah.
I was just saying my hands hurt from.
You can definitely do this in a food processor. I mean, you just want to pulse it. You don't want to make a big dough out of this right at this point. But the reason you want it cold is we're not going to get a lot of layers in these, but you will get a little layering with the butter, because once, like with a pie dough, if you want a flaky pie dough, you cut the butter in nice and cold, and any kind of moisture kind of steams, and that's how you get the flakes in between your flour, or in between your it creates layers. But Kerrygold has a pretty high percentage of fat, so that means less butter. I mean water content or hydration in there, because all butter has a little bit of water. So yeah, it just takes a little while. You just got to get your hands in there. It's kind of fun. You know, it's better than clicking around on a computer or anything for the morning, right? Isn't that what we'd all be doing? It's kind of like getting your hands in the dirt.
So it's kind of pebbly maybe, or?
Yeah, you want to get it down to about like pea size or so. You'll see chunks of butter in there, and you can kind of pick it up and run it through your fingers like this.
Oh, neat.
That helps too. You just want to get those big chunks kind of broken up. Or
Oop.
use a fork too, a couple knives if you want. There's always ways to do something in a different way. It makes it a little easier if you want. And we get to make messes. And this will come together, and then we'll get really sticky when we add the butter and the buttermilk. But we'll add, the honey and the buttermilk. But you just want to make sure that they're relatively uniform size and small. And just sort of rub your hands. Everybody's washed their hands really well before they started doing this, right? If you're all in my kitchen, I'd have everyone, washing their hands and then continue to wash your hands throughout the morning. I'm kind of a weirdo about that, but I might even use a little fork here to mash this down a little bit. And then before my hands get really sticky, I'm going to grab my buttermilk so I can measure that out. I just kept it in the fridge. But so I have these nifty little cups, these little measuring cups for honey and things like that, just small amounts. And what I do is I've got this little olive oil sprayer, or you can just use any cooking spray. And if I'm using a measuring spoon or a cup or something, I always spray it with a little oil, or even just rub a little oil in there, and then it slips right out, and it really makes it a lot easier. So at this point, we can add in our honey. And because it's so cold in here, I'm going to try and distribute it around a little bit. This honey really is kind of crystallized, but it's just enough sweetness that it just makes these really good. They're still a little sweet, but also you can have them with cheese. They're so good with cheese. So in that same cup, I'll measure in a quarter cup of the buttermilk, 4 tablespoons, which is.
So we're adding the honey first, though?
Yep. So I'm mixing in the honey just with my fingers again. I know.
I'm always so surprised because I'm a potter, and yet any other I don't like to get gooey.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that funny?
I always have one of these little flexible dough scrapers on hand too, and that just really is nice because I bake a lot of sourdough. Speaking of, I've got a sourdough class on Saturday if anyone's interested, and that's in my house. That's here in St. Paul. Is everybody in St. Paul or in Minnesota? Kate, you are, right?
Yep.
I am.
I don't know.
I'm in Minneapolis, but same difference.
Yeah.
Circle Pines in the North Metro.
Circle Pines. Okay. Circle Pines. Okay, sure.
Between Blaine and Lina Lakes.
Okay, yeah. So about a quarter cup of buttermilk can go in if you've got your honey mixed.
Boy, that is gooey.
It is gooey. It's a little messy. We'll add in all of this honey.
Okay, let's see, 4 tablespoons.
And like a biscuit dough, a pie dough, we're going to want to wrap this up. And so now you can kind of get in with your hands and really kind of mash in the liquid that we just added, and kind of get your hands in there, almost like a meatloaf, But we don't want to over mix once we add the flour, because that would once we add the liquid, because that, if you overmix any kind of a pie dough or a cake or anything like that that has flour in it, that's when you start developing the gluten. And that is when, and this will be pretty wet because you want to let it sit and the liquid will absorb into the oats and to the flour, because it just needs a little extra time. So it should all come into like a nice little mass like this. Can you see? Just, I can pick the whole thing up now, and it's pretty wet. So now I will give you all permission to wash your hands off once you get to that point. You always know that it's really cold out when the hot water that you've been running all morning comes out cold and has to heat up again. Like this, the biggest indicator of winter to me.
So get it into a ball shape here like this or something.
And grab yourself some wax paper or some plastic wrap and give yourself a good sheet, you know, like 18 inches long. And we're going to just tip it out onto that. And at this point, we're going to want to, if it's round, I mean, you just form it into a disc. Just because when
Using
we
wax
put it into
paper,
the,
Sheila?
I use wax. I'm trying to use less plastic wrap. So
Yeah, I like wax
either
better.
one.
Okay.
Either one
Wax is
works fine, just fine. But I'm just personally trying to use a little bit less. So we just want to have it, you know, roughly round shape, but put it in a disc because it will firm up in the fridge, and we'll leave it in there for hopefully about, ideally it's more like a half hour, but we'll give it about 15 minutes and we'll make our butter in the meantime. But just kind of give it a head start and just put it into a disc. You would do this with a pie dough too. You always refrigerate it. And this is giving it time to kind of rehydrate that flour that we just spent so much time mixing together. And then do a little clean down, as they say. Look at that messy fingers.
Tastes pretty good.
for the fridge.
Sorry,
It tastes pretty good.
did you try the dough?
Yeah, if you happen to lick it, you lick your fingers, but
Yeah.
Dough is delicious.
Yeah, it's just the perfect amount of sweetness, I think. Just that little bit of honey,
Uh-oh.
I think is all you need.
Clean up.
And if you didn't have honey, you could use brown sugar. I think that would work pretty well too. Brown sugar, or I don't know if I'd use regular sugar. I don't know if that would have, I think you just get a little bit more depth of flavor with the honey, or you could use agave, or you could use maple syrup. That would be another nice addition to the biscuit or the little cookie cracker too. And while we're waiting on our biscuit dough in the fridge, preheat your oven to 375. And if you have a tray or a cookie sheet, I always just use these rimmed baking sheets. And if you have some parchment paper, I just line the baking sheet with parchment paper. And I use a little biscuit cutter, you know, just a little 1.5, 2-inch biscuit cutter. But if you have a pastry cutter or a pasta cutter, something like that, whatever, you could do squares, you can do circles, you can do hearts, you can do Christmas trees, you can make them whatever shape you want once we get to that point. You could use you could use a glass if you had a small glass, you know, that's what my mom used to use all the time. So we can put that aside, but have that ready to go for when we start rolling out our dough. I'm gonna put mine in the fridge. I actually made one last night just to have kind of hydrated. And I took it out early because it's darn cold. I knew if I put it on my counter, it would stay pretty cold.
Do you think, is that too small?
No, I think that's great. No, it's perfect.
Maybe if I flour it before, twist
Yeah.
it, the flour first before.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that'll help to loosen it. You might have to kind of shake it off a little bit. I didn't add any seaweed into mine. I was going to show you all my seaweed that I ordered from. This is from Connemara Seaweed Company, and just like every year or so, I just place an order and I just get a bunch of seaweed. So this one's sweet kelp. I like this one a lot. This is fun. What I kind of in flakes. If you can see, just kind of flakes. I haven't opened it yet because I have one open, but sometimes how I usually use seaweed is I like to, maybe if it doesn't feel super dry before I grind it, I'll put it in the toaster oven for a little bit just to dry it out really low. And then I'll put it in a spice grinder and I grind it up. But this, and then I bought this, it's called Connemara seaweed seasoning, and what is in it is where are the ingredients that I saw it earlier? It was like different kinds of seaweed. It was kelp and where the heck are the ingredients?
What's the name of the company again?
Connemara Seaweed, Organic Seaweed Company.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's sea salt, dillisk, kombu, kelp, and sweet kelp. And then I've got this carrageen moss, which is used like as a thickener. I haven't used this yet, but it's used commonly as a thickener of some kind, like to thicken puddings and that kind of thing. So it's really fun. It's just fun to play with. And like I'll grind some up and I have it next to my salt and pepper and I just add it, just a sprinkle to just about everything. All of my like veg, my roasted veg, I'll just sprinkle some on and throw it in the oven, and it has a little fishy smell, but it's and it doesn't taste fishy. But another thing that I bought from them was this it's more like for body and your face. And so I made a mask out of it, a face mask. And honestly, it just felt so refreshing on my face. And then you can use it as like a body scrub too. And
Hey,
you really
Sheila, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you put the same seaweed we're cooking with, like make your own mask rather than?
I would imagine you could, yeah, maybe with add a little olive oil and just put it on. You just want to make it into a paste. I think so.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't really look at the ingredients, but it looks a lot like this. Smells. It doesn't smell great. I mean, it doesn't smell bad. It just smells like the sea. It smells like when you're walking down by the sea, which is kind of fun, I think. So we're letting our biscuits rest a little bit in the fridge, and now we can start making our butter. And this is really fun because this is basically called a compound butter. So anytime you take butter and you add anything to it, whether it be seaweed or garlic or chives or any kind of herbs, dried or fresh, you could make a citrus one with citrus rinds, honey. You can add maple syrup, and you can put a little bit on everything. And they're so fun and kind of just flexible to do whatever you want. And so you keep it in your fridge. You can put a little slice on a piece of fish after you've grilled it or sauteed it. All these things are so yummy to kind of play with. So for the butter, again, we're just going to use that extra 2 ounces and just pop it in a bowl big enough. I'm just using a bowl that's large enough to kind of use a fork, and that's how we're going to mix this up. Fork. And we're going to just chop up a little bit of garlic. Just like a half of a clove, really, because it'll be raw. So you want to kind of watch how much garlic you put in. But I can give you a little knife skill. For how I peel my garlic, I just pop it on my board and I put the flat of my knife over it, and then you just give it a little whack and the garlic skin comes right off. So we're just going to take about half of this, would be more than enough. And we're going to make a little paste on our cutting board here. So just kind of get it chopped, get it going chopping. And then with the side of my knife, I'm just going to, if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just going to kind of run the knife over the garlic, or you could use a garlic press too if you have one. But you know, my knife is always out and ready to go, so I don't use garlic presses anymore. And if you want like a lot of garlic, put more in, but we want to get this pretty fine so that it'll really flavor the garlic with the seaweed. So just mash it up as much as you can. The finer you make your garlic, the stronger it is. So if you ever like see a recipe where it calls just to slice the garlic, probably going to be cooking for a little bit longer so it doesn't burn, so you get a lot of flavor. But the larger the garlic is, the less strong and garlicky it is, believe it or not. So I'm going to add a little bit of this Ackle Island salt and seaweed. You might add a little extra salt too, because it's kind of a lot of seaweed. This you can play with as much as you want. I'm going to add a little extra seaweed. I think I'll add some dillisk.
About
Kate,
how much, Sheila, are you doing?
I'm going to use about a teaspoon, I think.
Okay.
I think I'm going to forego the seaweed because
Okay.
my whatchamacallit Cuisinart thingy seems to be used mostly for Indian spices.
Oh, that wouldn't be bad though.
You know,
That would be really good. I mean, you could do some really yummy things. You could put like garam masala in some butter and make a garam masala butter, or even with ghee, you know, you could flavor the ghee.
this was already. Do we think this is turmeric? I don't want to spill it on my computer. But
it doesn't look yellow enough to be turmeric.
it's kind of
How does
orangey.
it smell? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could put a pinch of that in there, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah,
See what-
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Salts are
did you-
really fun to play with. I love different kinds of salts. Like I'm going to put this as a really, really coarse Malden salt. I'm going to use a little of that.
Yeah,
And then I
I've
just
got salt from France that a friend brought back for me. It's kind of coarse. Could I use that maybe?
absolutely,
A little pinch.
absolutely. Yeah, you could use a little bit of that on top of your biscuit too when we roll those out. So then just kind of carefully, you don't want your butter really soft because you don't want it melty, because then it's just going to get greasy. But we just want to really just incorporate this with a fork and just go slowly until it's all kind of in there. Otherwise, it's going to go all over your counter, which is going to happen anyway. But you can just play with this recipe in so many different ways.
What about cardamom? Would that work?
You know, I would add a little sweetener, but just a teeny bit of cardamom. It's such a strong, strong flavor. I would just add a little bit. Cardamom is wonderful, but I just think it might be a little too strong for this. Okay, so it's pretty well mixed before we're getting, you know, to anything melted. We should feel pretty, very pliable at this point. The salt will kind of do that. It will sort of make the butter a little easier to work with. And then again, you're going to want to get another piece of parchment or wax paper or plastic wrap. You don't need such a large piece this time, but you know, about a square. And then hopefully you've got something to kind of scrape, just make a plop a little dollop right in the center of your parchment or whatever you're using. Try to get all of that up with a spatula or this is sort of the trick here, but I'm gonna roll over one of the sides. And if you have like the back of a knife, or if you have one of these flexible dough scrapers or something flat, just kind of pull it towards you because you want to form a log. So you can kind of roll it a little bit with your hands, but then just pull it taut. And if you have the back of a knife, you know, it'll do the same thing. You can just sort of push it in to the crease. You know, flatten out each side. Don't use too much force, you don't want to rip it. And then you can kind of roll it a little bit. And you roll it up. And then you, like if you're making taffy, you just twist each side in the opposite direction. And that helps to tighten it too and round it out a little bit, if you can see. And then you've got your compound butter. And this will go in the fridge for at least a half hour too, because you want this to firm up for sure. You could do this and then throw it in the freezer. Which works really well too. You can keep these in the freezer, slice them up. Once it's firm, slice it up. Excuse me. Pop it in your freezer and then take it out. Especially if you have garlic in here, you don't want to keep it in the fridge for more than a week. You'd want to, because that'll break down and can kind of, you just want to be careful with the raw veg. So can you see how that all worked? Is that working for you guys? Yeah. Twist it opposite directions, Kate. And then it kind of tightens up and it looks like a little log. Such a good trick. And then pop that in the fridge. And then our biscuit dough has been in the fridge now for 15 minutes, a little longer maybe. You can kind of get that going now.
Just hide this.
When you're ready. I don't want to rush anybody. If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down, lady. Everybody doing okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Sheila, is this your normal way of doing classes now via Zoom, or do you like to do them better in person, or do you have a
You know, this is the
preference?
first Zoom class I've had in a long time, because Celtic Kitchen doesn't have a kitchen of any kind. And
Okay.
I don't know why we haven't offered to do them in my kitchen, but no, I usually do my classes in my kitchen here in St. Paul. So it works out well. And but maybe I should. I mean, especially if it's just a small group like this, I could do them in my kitchen. I'll have to we're just kind of seeing how they go, you know, with
Yeah.
people signing up and stuff like that. But it's been fun so far.
Well, it sure makes it easy to.
Yeah,
It sure
I
makes
think
it
so.
easy to participate.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think people being in their own kitchens, you know, I mean, with COVID, this is how I did it for 2 years was online like this, and that worked great because couldn't do anything else. But I think I might even I had a kitchen confidence class here last year, so it was 4 different Monday nights, and you came and it was, you know, like 3 hours long, and there was just a small group, and we cooked together. But we did a lot. I crammed a lot into those 3 hours. So I'm kind of thinking of doing an online thing just like this, 1 hour, get dinner ready. But I love to, you know, when I'm teaching classes, to me, it's yeah, the recipe's a great guide. But when it's just dinner, I think you really need to, in order to build confidence in the kitchen, I think you need to not always follow or know that you don't have to follow that recipe exactly, but know what to look for you know, when the steak's done or when the chicken's done or when the pasta's done. I mean, and what to do with the pasta, you know, that kind of thing. So I think just that kind of knowledge, if you're in your own kitchen, just a little, might be a little more comfortable. So I might do that in the winter time. Be a nice thing, you know, and then your dinner's ready. And it wouldn't be, you know, a commitment, but there'd be maybe a series of classes. So so grab yourself a little regular flour and a rolling pin. And if you don't have a rolling pin, you know, you can use a wine bottle, you could use a glass, just something round, whatever works. Pasta maker. Here, I'm gonna put that down again. So just scatter a little bit of flour on your counter. Need a little bit of room. Oops, coming out. And just unwrap your dough and plop it on. That's when I use plastic wrap. Plop that on your counter, and you'll want to put a little bit more flour on top. And if it's really cold, you can take your rolling pin and just kind of, you mash it a little bit, get your aggressions out a little bit, but the key with a pie dough or this biscuit dough or cut out cookies is to keep it moving on your board. Otherwise, if you want it to stick, don't move it. And because that also, you can see that it absorbs a lot of this flour. So you just want to keep it moving, keep it moving. And then when you get it, hopefully it's pliable. It should be okay if it's only been in for 15 minutes, but see how I'm moving it? I'm going to roll a little and then move it around, just a quarter turn.
Is it
Roll
okay? Mine is
Yep.
cracking right off the bat.
Yeah, it's going to crack. Yep, mine's
Okay.
cracking too.
Cracking a
if you
lot.
can see.
I have to kind of pinch it back together.
You can pinch it together, you bet. Just keep
Okay.
it moving. That's the key.
Okay.
And we can roll kind of whatever doesn't get rolled out or cut out, we can re-roll out. So we'll just be using the nice parts. So this one I used, I put seaweed in. You can see it's very speckly. I made this one last night. So about a quarter of an inch or less, you know, doesn't have to be exact, but just run your hand over it like this and just make sure it feels even. That's kind of, you know, what you're looking for, is just that the whole thing is rolled out level. And the best way to do that is just roll your hand over it and just make sure you can move it around. If you can't move it around, grab one of your like a big spatula, or if you have one of these dough scrapers, and just be sure you can move it around pretty well. And at this point too, if you forgot to put your seaweed in, or you decided to add some salt, you can sprinkle a little salt or whatever you want to add on the top, and then roll it in so that it'll stay without having to add any, you know, eggs or anything like that, egg whites, you know, to make it stick. That would be another way to kind of get that to stick, but that would also give it kind of a glossy look, and we don't really want a glossy biscuit. So then once you've got it rolled out fairly evenly, grab your tray and whatever your cutting utensil is going to be. I mean, you could do strips and make, or squares, you know, with a knife or a biscuit cut or a pasta cutter. I just like to just do just a little cookie cutter kind of thing. I'll do a couple at a time. And you can dip it in flour if you're worried that it's going, or if you don't think you have access, like I can stick my finger in here and pop it out. And they shouldn't spread too much on the pan, but you want to give about a 1/2 inch in between They spread a tiny bit, but not too much. Sometimes I'll cut 2 out at a time, and that works out okay too. So I'm just lining up about four in a row on my sheet tray here. And whatever bits are left can roll out again. But I wouldn't roll out many more
Yeah.
times than like once. It's very I find this very relaxing to do this kind of thing, as long as you got all of your stuff ready to go.
They're so cute.
Aren't they cute?
Yeah.
I love them. And they're so tasty. And you know, seaweed, I mean, I'm finding it has a lot of really great health benefits. It's got like there's iodine in seaweed, which is, you know, what they add to regular table salt.
Mhm.
And that helps with thyroid. You know, well, I guess back in the day, there was no natural way of getting iodine if you didn't live by the sea. And so that's when goiters, people started getting goiters. You heard about goiters? Do you remember the Seinfeld? The Seinfeld? No, okay, never mind.
Yes.
But, but that reason that iodine is added to the Morton table salt is just to get iodine in people's diets. And I don't use that salt. I haven't for years. I just think it tastes terrible. It's table salt in general is not my favorite.
With all those leftovers, should I just
Yep, you just
them
gather it up,
together, out again? See if I can.
gather it up, add a little more. Once you get it gathered, you know, kind of squish it together a little bit. It should be pretty flexible and sticky again. So you want to definitely add some more flour down on your board.
Okay.
And a little to the top. And this round will be a little bit more cracked usually, but that's okay. It'll turn out great. Do a few more here.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been to Ireland and had like gone to the store and just bought the little digestive
Oh my gosh, yes.
biscuits.
We're going. I know.
I just love those.
My
Let's see.
vanity had a
How
whole
about
cupboard of
May?
digestives.
Your birthday.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
All right, honestly.
We're only supposed to do 2 rounds of these, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm done. I did
Try and
13.
get as much out of
I need
rolling it out twice if you can.
Sheila, we hate to admit it, and you're gonna probably hang up on us, but neither Erin Gallagher nor Sheila Delaney have ever been to Ireland.
Oh,
Oh, I will not hang up on you because you can come with me next April for my Irish food tour that I'm organizing with my friend
We
Anne in
just
Galway.
We just said let's go in April or May.
oh,
I
no.
have I'm starting a food tour and I just started it's on my website, all the info. My friend Anne
Okay.
in Galway, she and her husband make goat cheese, and I met them when I was there, and basically fell in love with them both. They were so wonderful, and it's a whole other story. But I'm going to pop my first tray in the oven. Looking good, and you know it says
Is it?
I think it says 20 minutes, but it might be longer. You know, it might be, or it says 12 to 15 minutes. My oven is pretty hot. Everybody's ovens are different. So I like them crispy. You can do them so they're not quite so crispy. You know, they're a little softer, but it all depends on how long you leave them in the oven for. So the little longer, you don't want them to get brown, real brown on the edges, just kind of golden. And you'll know right away.
Left over. Should I just pat it into a little shape or something, or?
I think you want to get it pretty thin because it'll be a little cakey. I don't think it would taste that great if it wasn't kind of browned all around. So you
Okay.
could or just cut them. I have a little left here too. I'm gonna just do another batch after these come out of the oven, I think. I don't want to waste. Plus I've got more in the fridge.
Yeah,
I'll say.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you're a potter, Kate.
Yeah.
You're
Just
gonna make something incredibly creative with yours. Yeah, roll it in a ball and flatten it out. Sure. That's a whole other way to do it. Absolutely.
we'll just see what happens.
So we probably, well, I guess we'll have time to see if they turn out. Now we're pretty much done with our cooking though, so we can just chat. So really I don't think I'd serve the seaweed butter with these cookies, or these biscuits. I would definitely serve the seaweed butter, on a good piece of sourdough or toast or on a steak or something like that, or fish. But or add it to things, to flavor. It's kind of instant flavor that you've just made. But the biscuits are so good with like some sharp cheese or some goat cheese, a little like jam, like a fig jam or something is really delicious with that whole thing too. And maybe a little fresh herb on the top. Really tasty.
So
I love these things. And they're really good if you want to not do the seaweed, but add some chopped up fresh rosemary. Yummy, really yummy. So, but anyways, my Irish food tour is going to be April 13th through the 16th. It's Sunday through Friday, or till about noon on the following Friday. And we meet in Galway, and we take you, and we're cooking. We're not just, we're baking in Anne's farmhouse kitchen 2 days, and then so we have 2 days at land, and we're going to tour a few tours, a whiskey tour, a dairy farm, their goat cheese. We're doing a big long table dinner the second night of cooking when we're there together.
I'm already busy.
And then 2 days in Clifton at where we'll go hopefully gather some mussels, and we're going to go seaweed foraging, and got a couple really great restaurants. So it'll be a mix of restaurants, and it'll be pretty active. It's not, the goal is we're staying really small, just in Galway. And the goal is not to be seeing Ireland or experiencing Ireland on a bus, through the window of a bus. We want to be getting people into Anne's kitchen and other kitchens, and just tasting the amazing food that they have there. So that's
So
kind of
then
how many-
our goal.
Sorry, go ahead, Kate.
no, I was just wondering, so this tour, are we responsible for getting to Galway on our own?
Yep.
I
Getting
do
to Ireland and Galway, and but yeah. So we meet at the first hotel, and then we take you from there, and then but it's really quite easy to get to Galway and Oranmore from
Yeah.
Dublin. The trains are so easy.
Just the train to the airport, or at the get a bus.
Yeah, you get a bus to the train station and then hop on. It's
I'm
pretty
just
great.
taking the
Yeah,
bus
easy.
from there. The
Oh
bus.
yeah, you can do that too. And those run on the hour, I guess, the buses.
They're real
I
frequent.
haven't done that. I don't know.
How
I
many
love the
people
train.
are-
I love a train ride.
How
Sorry,
many people, Sheila, are you going to have in the group?
only 8, just
Ooh,
8, a really
nice.
small group. So I'm going to open registration a week from Monday. Open registration will happen. So, and I've got a lot of people interested, which is really fun.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Well,
it's going to be
I
great. I can't wait.
honestly would sign up, I think, for sure, but I have a wedding that weekend already.
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot.
I mean,
Well,
we're in-
and really the hopes is that people come for this 5 days, but they're going to stay on
It'll be
either or
fabulous.
both ends and see more of the country. But we're just going to give you a little Galway.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Next time.
yeah. Next time. Yep.
Is this
And
your
we hope to
first
do
time?
more. Sorry.
Is this your first time doing this?
Yeah, this will be our first one, and then I'm hoping that we can do another one in September if this goes, and we might do the same one in Galway, and then we'll move on to different, we'll go to County Mayo, Tipperary maybe, or some other spots. But the nice thing is she's kind of right in between Galway. They live in County Galway, but they're not far from Mayo, so that would work because it just to be in their kitchen and on their, they live on her family's property, you know, and she built her house like 15 years ago, and then she and Larry got married, so it's on their family property, but it's kind of a really nice old farmhouse style house, and then they make goat cheese in this little factory out back, and it's pretty magical.
Sounds
Pretty amazing.
fabulous.
Yeah, yeah. So she's got a nice kitchen, and she's a great baker. So she went to Dublin Cookery School a few years before I did, but we did a tour of their goat cheese farm. They don't have goats anymore, but and it was that day that, you know, and then they invited us into their kitchen. And when she said at 11 a.m., who would like a hot whiskey? I said, well, I think you're my new best friend. Because my goal when I was there, I wasn't going to say no to anything. I was going to try everything. I had already tried oysters, you know, just slurping it down. I thought, I'll have a hot whiskey at 11 a.m.
That's fantastic.
That's our claim to our friendship. Yeah, yeah. So, but they were just so, you know, that's the thing about Ireland, and they're so hospitable. I mean, the hospitality is amazing. You can knock on someone's door and they open it and they say hello and invite you in if you need directions. I mean, I've done it. I mean, and then, oh my God, you know, we were lost and we were trying to find our little, you know, the Garrity cottage, you know, and we knew it was there. We knew we weren't far. And so this woman said, come in. And then the little kids are running around and my family's out in the car. I was
Oh,
like, "Hi,
very
we're looking
fun.
for this house." And, you know, she helped us figure it out. And it's just so wonderful. They're so friendly.
I'm
I
serious.
mean, that's
I
on
want
the
to come on this tour. But the only caveat I have that I didn't do when I was in Connemara for that month is I fell in love with Shelida, which are snails, because they're on they're on the pathways. They're beautiful little orange and yellow ones. And so in Galway, there are 2 different tattoo places. And so I have to have at least about an hour to get a tattoo.
Is it in the city center of Galway?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, if
We
you're
could do that on Friday. We won't really be in the city center, just at all, just to drop off at the end, really. I think right outside the city center is the whiskey tour that we're going to be doing that day. But
I'll check in with you later. Just why are you going to Ireland? For my tattoo and cooking.
Yeah, right. Well, that's like, you know, when I was just there a few weeks ago, you know, I said, I want to get these cookbooks there. Yes, I can order them and get them delivered, but I didn't want them Americanized because they do that all the time. You know, that's why I wanted that Irish cookbook from Ireland, although he's got all the American measurements. So he probably did that from like outside.
Did you attend Mancan Magan's Butter and Agus and Eam at Eran, Agus Eam at the Celtic Junction?
No, I didn't.
You've got to see his, if there's a video or recording, because he cooks in front of you. He makes bread.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I should have done that.
Sheila, tell us about. I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask Kate if she knew Gaelic or Irish.
Yeah, I've been studying it for 5 years. That's why
Have you?
when I wrote to you this morning, I put in there my yeah, good morning.
I saw that. Yeah. I know Pugga Mahone. That's it.
Pug Mahone.
That's what everybody knows.
Pug Mahone, yeah.
Pug Mahone, right? Mahone, yeah.
Are you fluent, Kate?
Probably not to a native speaker, but one of my teachers in Dublin, I take 2 different classes out of Dublin right now, and I love what she says. She says, Tatu Kroga, you are brave, which is so sweet. She was an actress. I have 2 teachers, and they were former actresses on Ross Naroon, which is a soap opera, Irish soap opera.
That's great. Yeah.
That's very cool.
That's fun.
Fun.
Really fun. That's fun. Love it.
Sheila, I heard when Kate said bread, I was going to ask you, tell us about your sourdough class.
Oh,
What
yeah.
are you doing? Do you have to do you arrive with your starter, or how do you run
Nope,
the
I
class?
supply the starter, which I have another fun story about my starter. But I supply you with a little starter, but we you arrive and in the class you get the banneton, which is the cloth lined bowl that you let your dough ferment in overnight. You get one of these little dough scrapers. This time I have a bag of my favorite flour, bread flour from, it's a local mill, Sunrise Flour Mill, where I get all my flour from. So you get a 2 pound bag of that. And then we go through the whole process together. And then I have some ready to go because sourdough is fermented overnight, at least for, 18 hours to 24 hours. And so I'll have a few ready here that we bake. And I show you how to do all that because it's quite a process. But once you get it, it's not a lot of time. It just is, it's not a lot of hands-on time. It's more time, over the fermentation process. So we go through the whole thing. We do the flip and turn. We have lunch, and it's about a 4-hour class, but it's really low key, and I try to really make it easy to follow because I don't get into I don't know all the technical stuff, or the chemistry or the physics or of it all. But oh, you have some.
Well, I don't know if it works. When I went to that performance, it was really a performance. He gave us at the end of the night, if we wanted some starter, but is that enough to do something
Yes,
with?
that would be enough. But when did you get that?
It was probably over the summer.
Oh, and have you been feeding it?
No.
Okay, it might not.
know
It
if
might
it's
not be viable anymore.
Okay.
You would know, like if you open it, how does it smell?
Kind of alcohol-y.
Oh yeah, it might not be okay anymore. The way you can tell is you'd have to continue to feed it, and I go over all that because
Okay.
it's called a starter, but I really call it a stayer. I call it a stayer because you have to feed it in order for it to survive and to continue producing the yeast and everything. So
Well, it smells good. The biscuits, they smell good.
I know mine smell good too. So if you don't have a very even cooking oven, you might want to just turn your pan around a little bit. Like mine are getting a little crispy. Mine is not the most even oven, but it smells so yummy in here. Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
I look up at all the spaces are
Mine are kind of
screens
pale.
are empty.
Should they be
Sorry?
pale looking? They look kind of pale.
Yeah, they don't really get too golden just because my dough is very brown anyways. So they get a little brown on the edges a little bit.
Okay.
Don't want it too brown on the edges. You just want them cooked evenly throughout. So that's why you want to turn it.
Okay.
And if it seems like it's browning too quick, I would just turn it down and add a couple, like 5 minutes or something. If you want to go to 350 and add 5 minutes, that's fine too. But and I like to let them cool on a rack so that they do get crispy, because otherwise if you just leave them in the pan, they might get a little soggy bottom. We don't want a soggy bottom biscuit. Would not be all right. But I'd let them cool down completely even before you try them, because I think the flavor, and they continue to cook as they're cooling. That's part of the cooking process, whether it be bread or any kind of baking. You're continuing the cooking process or baking process as it's cooling. So that's why you don't want to really dive into bread too quick, because it's always gets a little gummy, so.
Well, the one thing that's nice about doing this at home is at least you can do something by the end of the class. You know what I mean? You're doing it right there.
Right. And practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I
This was
see it.
fun.
Sorry.
It
Hmm?
was
Sorry.
really fun.
It is fun, and it's just fun to, I think it's fun to share these recipes, and, modern Irish recipes are definitely, I think my next class is the barmbrack,
Oh, yeah.
which is
I think I'm
tea
signed up for
breck.
that.
I think you are too, Kate.
Yeah.
That's fun because that's got a fun story, around Halloween. Because
You put something in there, like a little surprise thing.
you can put a ring or a piece of rag, I guess. So the ring means you will be married
Okay.
soon.
Done
A
that.
rag
Never
means,
done that.
yeah, and what else? The rag means you're going to be poor. A coin means you will be wealthy, and whoever gets that, when they cut open
Yeah.
the bread, or it's kind of like cakey. It's got a lot of dried fruit in it. They're really quite tasty. A lot of
Hmm.
herbs and tea. It's fun. It's fun to make. It's very fun to make, and it's got a fun story with it too. So always a fun story with the Irish. You gotta have a story.
Yeah. Scale the story. Unscale the story.
On scale. Oh, I thought about taking Gaelic or Irish, but I never could comprehend Spanish. And at this age, I'm like, it's not gonna happen. I would love for it, but I can recognize a few words written out, but
Yeah. It's not an easy language at all.
no, doesn't look easy at all. It doesn't have, like, the Spanish and even German has a little more association with English,
Yeah.
because it was derived from, yeah, I don't know where it all came from, but it's fascinating. Oh, very fascinating for sure. Leanne, you're quiet.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of like cleanup and stuff and banging around,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
on mute.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so my biscuits have been in for 15 minutes.
Yeah, mine
I'm
too.
gonna give it a check. Oh, smells so good. And
We took ours out. We took
how'd they
ours out
looking?
at 15. They look really good. I don't know if you can see.
And you
If I
can
tip
kind of
it.
hear them. Okay, yeah,
There they
don't let them slide up. They look great.
Hey,
And I put a couple in just to get them crispier to see which we like better.
Okay, good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah,
This
mine are
does that look about right?
Oh, those are pretty.
oh, those look beautiful.
Is that about right?
Yeah, mine are a little squishy. I'm gonna
Put
put
yours in
mine
here?
back in because I like mine pretty crunchy. So I'm gonna put mine back in for another
Crunchy. But I don't know.
5, I think. And they'll crisp up as they're out of the oven too.
Yeah, I
So
think too.
Maybe I'll just put one tray back in and then compare the difference.
yeah, that's what the Sheila and Aaron did. So that's kind of a fun idea. Very good idea. Experimenting in the kitchen. I love it. That's very good. Very good. This is going to be my hors d'oeuvre. We're having 8 people for 8 friends for a little pizza party tonight. So
And
this is all they're getting
I have a
for
friend
an
from
appetizer.
not showing up here in 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said you were going to be taking off early. We can all sign off really. I think we're almost to our time. Oh, that worked out perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah.
We got our butter made. We got the biscuits all baked and everything. Yeah, that's fun.
Now, when did you
That's
say
fun.
to put the butter on? Wait till it cools down a little bit.
I wouldn't really even serve these with the butter. There's a lot of butter in. That was just sort of another recipe that would
whole
go
thing.
along with, seaweed. So it was sort of more of a seaweed focused class, but I would serve this with cheese and a little jam of some kind, or like a fig jelly, or preserve with some cheese. Be really good. Be really good because it got a little sweetness, a little savoriness to them.
I'm okay with it.
So
Okay. We'll see
you
how
can
that
go
goes.
either direction with them. You really can. That's the fun thing about them, I think, is that they're pretty versatile. I'm just rolling out the last of mine. I'm not going to waste any of it. And if you still have a lot of dough left over, but you don't want to roll it out again because then it starts getting tougher. You know, just put these little pieces on your tray, and that can be a little chef's treat. You know, you don't have to have everyone be exactly. They might cook a little quicker, but you're just not wasting anything, and you're not going to waste anything in the kitchen anymore because
Well, it's probably still hot.
groceries are outrageous.
Yeah.
So I don't waste a darn thing.
It's so ridiculous.
It is. It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. So ladies, this was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila.
Yeah, thank you very
Thanks
much.
for
You're my good.
yeah.
Thank you
Like
very
Kate
much.
said.
you,
Yeah,
this
if
was
you guys have
fun.
any questions or anything, you know, I'm around. Give a holler. Maybe we'll see you in
Alrighty.
another class. Okay.
Thank
Wait,
Right.
you.
Sheila, I was going to ask you, are you, Sheila Delaney, are you cousins?
No.
You're not cousins.
Wait.
You just have the same name. Okay.
Yep. No, we don't, supposedly not, but I mean, if you saw my kids, you know what Sheila's kids look like. They have a lot of similarities. And our grandparents were absolute best friends, like an inseparable foursome.
The Delaney side,
so-
both Delaney.
On the Delaney, yeah, Frank and Rose. So Sheila's grandpa and grandma and my grandpa and grandma were best friends. But I can't imagine we're not related somehow,
Right.
somewhere.
Right. I just noticed that was your mate, your your married name. I was
In
like,
St. Paul, I always have to say I'm the other Sheila Delaney because
the other Sheila,
Sheila
right?
Burke. Sheila
Right.
Burke is a
Right.
bigger identity than I do.
And isn't it funny that she and I spell our names the same way?
I know.
Yeah.
And that
So-
she said she found in Ireland from at least her tour guide. Maybe you guys found differently when you were there together, but her tour guide was like, no, nobody spells it that way.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it because it's the only time no one that people have been able to pronounce my name. And if you look at all towns and everything, there's AGHs everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, my maiden name was Garrity, Geraghty. I can't imagine that it's not. I've
Yeah.
heard that before, but I don't believe it. I think it's Irish because it's the only time anybody's known how to say my name.
Yeah.
You know? So
Wow.
so for the rest of you, so Sheila is a friend with another Sheila friend of mine and two other Sheilas.
Oh my
And we
God.
all went to high school together. And the
Oh.
four of us plus two other friends, high school friends, were just in Ireland. Get back.
But they didn't invite me, even though
Anyway.
I was Sheila.
Well, I didn't really know you then, Sheila, but you're coming to the next one for sure.
Absolutely.
So are your names all spelled the same?
two of us are AGH and two are the regular, the
AI.
usual. I don't want to say regular or the other way, you know, it's the
Yeah.
typical
The
way, I
alternative.
guess. Yeah, it's kind of the original. Maybe it's the original. I'm not really sure, but yeah, and it was Sheila Delaney, Sheila Burke. No, sorry, that's her maiden name. Sheila Delaney, Sheila Dudley, Sheila Murphy, and Sheila Garrity.
Oh man.
Kind of,
It was a
kind of
powerhouse.
crazy.
Yeah, sounds like an Irish constituency there.
Oh God, yeah, it was hysterical. Oh, we had a ball. Anyways, it was fun. That was a very fun trip. I haven't had a trip like that. That was wow. That was great. We had a great time. So get over to Ireland.
Nice to
whenever
meet
you
you all.
can.
Nice to meet all of you.
Yeah, thanks for
Bye,
coming,
thank you.
everybody. Have a great
Bye.
Saturday.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye, Sheila.